My name is Miss Diane Crenton, and my USI number is 105-724-86. This afternoon, the privilege is mine to speak on some topics of importance as a student teacher pursuing a degree in special education needs. The first thing I would like to speak about is formal assessment. What is formal assessment? Formal assessment is a standardized assessment, one which includes a set rubrics to receive the marks of student, one that has like a timing, for example, if you are doing an entrance examination to go into the police force or an entrance examination for the University of Guyana, there that is a perfect example of a standardized test or a formal assessment. However, an informal assessment is one that is flexible. It is an assessment that, as a teacher, whilst you're teaching at the end of the lesson, you can ask questions just to gather information. There is no set rubrics to achieve any marks for that. What is the difference between formal and informal assessment? The difference between formal and informal assessment is that one, there is a set rubrics whereby marks will be given, and the other, informal, is whereby there is flexibility between the teacher and the student. What is monitoring? Progress monitoring is a continuous process of collecting and analyzing data to track a student's performance. For example, a student as a special need teacher, we have something called an IEP, an individualized education plan. So that progress monitoring is for me to keep abreast or track the performance of that student. What is a baseline assessment? A baseline assessment is, for example, it is an initial evaluation whereby you test that student knowledge before you introduce new knowledge to that child. Let's say, for example, a child is promoted from grade 2 to grade 3. Before you give an examination or before you introduce a topic, let's say, for example, you're doing parts of speech and you may ask a child what is a noun. So you ask that question to see whether that child has knowledge of what a noun is or if you have to reintroduce the information given. However, why is progress monitoring essential? Progress monitoring is essential because it is a legal document that is required, that is one. It is essential for children with disability. Not only with disability, but progress monitoring are always important to see whether a child is improving in one or more subject area. But my point to concentrate on this afternoon is disability. It is it is used to fulfill legal requirement, as I said, and it is the key reason is to inform instructional measures to see whether that child understand what goes on. All teachers can involve families in interpreting essential assessment results and setting literacy goals for their children. My point that I will comment on this afternoon is that as teachers, we need to use friendly acronym to inform that parent or to get a parent involved in their child's performance. Not all parents are literate, so you will begin with the strength of that child. For example, if the child exceeds in mathematics and the child performance is low in science, instead of giving the result for the science, you begin with the strength of that child, which is mathematics. Also encourage the parent to reward that child for every performance. It's not easy sometimes for children, they become pressured to do an assessment. So you encourage the parent to reward that child and you begin with simple terminologies, not all educative acronym that will confuse the parents. In my opinion, formal, in fact, an informal assessment will be better to gather information for a pupil or a learner. Why I say an informal assessment? Because children tend to have nervous, or children tend to become nervous when they know they have a test to write. But if they are at their ease during the class session, and you observe that child is trained, for example, if that child is reading fluent or if that child is speaking corn, that is very much important. The informal assessment is very much important to track that record in that child. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to share this information with you.